United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Look at a roll call, please.
Mrs. Eisenhart? Here. Mr. Hefner?
Here.
Mr. Hohenfeld?
Here.
Mrs. Hughes?
Here.
Mr. Reithammer?
Here.
Mr. Sheets?
Mrs. Walliser will not be attending this evening.
Mr.
So the first recognition this evening, unfortunately, is a obituary minute, but gives us an opportunity as a school district to recognize former staff in the school district that have committed themselves in the educational environment, but have unfortunately passed away. And this is in reference to Mr. Terry Bucks, who was a teacher in the school district. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Brandywine Heights Area School District acknowledges the passing of a dear friend in education, Mr. Terry Bucks, on February 9th, 2023. Terry Bucks served the school district with dedication and excellence as a secondary English and reading teacher for a total of 35 years prior to his retirement in 2001. Terry Bucks' commitment to lifelong learning, devotion to students, and the record of excellence in the educational and community endeavors will long be remembered and appreciated, and whereby his passing is marked by a deep sense of loss to his family and friends in the district. The Brandywine Heights Area School Board would like to publicly recognize the extraordinary life and record of service of Terry Bucks. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the school board of the Brandywine Heights Area School District officially honor Mr. Terry Bucks for his role in improving the lives of countless students and citizens through his contributions to education, public service, his family, and community. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of the school district this 6th day of March 2022, with a copy sent to his bereaved family. If we can just have a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. The second recognition we would like to do tonight is something called the New Heights Award. We do this every month. It is an opportunity for us to recognize 2 staff members that go above and beyond. We receive New Heights Awards throughout the month. We usually receive a whole bunch of them, and it gives us a great pleasure to be able to select 2 people that become essentially the employees of the month. And so this evening, we'd like to do those recognitions. First up, I'd like to call Miss Cindy Steele. Cindy, if you don't mind coming up here. So what we will do is take a moment. I will read the recognition that you received, Ms. Steele. Cindy has done a phenomenal job subbing for Mr. Ben Saltberg for the last several weeks. She jumped right in and kept things going by setting high expectations and standards, developing relationships with students, and keeping them engaged in their musical ensembles and classes. She has taken time to learn some of the content in music theory, which has allowed her to assist with students with their work. She has come to school every day with a positive attitude, which I believe rubs off on both the students and faculty. She has been a wonderful addition to the music department and will be an honorary member from now on. Finally, it says, it has been a great pleasure to work with her, and I'm grateful for her time, efforts, and generosity. And Mr. Jinch has a few extra words back.
So just as a quick story, one of the big challenges that we run into sometimes with some of the things that will still happen in terms of staffing challenges, we have to get a little creative on occasion that we actually have to maybe rely on some folks that are with us in a support role. And Ms. Steele has helped us out before as a substitute, but we found an opportunity when Mr. Saltberg was leaving for an extended period of time that we needed someone to kind of step up, and Ms. Steele was more than willing to help us out, and honestly put a lot of faith in our program because not a music teacher at heart, it was one of those things where we knew we were going to have to rely a lot on some of the students that were there to sort of get through this time period. And she was wonderful with the students. She was every day with a positive attitude. And it's got to be challenging to have a discipline that's probably outside of the one that's your typical comfort area. But every day was with the kids and did a phenomenal job and truly felt like a part of our staff for the time that she was with us. So I can't thank her enough for the work that she did. It was awesome having her with us, and really what could have been a really, really challenging time having a staff member who teaches a very specialized position ended up being a really positive experience for myself, hopefully for our students, and hopefully for the students. So thank you.
Next up, we'd like to recognize Miss Nicole Smith. If you want to come up, do you want to bring your kid? Okay, all right. Nicole is one of our kindergarten teachers in the school district. I'll take a moment to read why she was recognized. Ms. Smith joined us last year and has been a fantastic addition to the Brandywine Heights education staff, as she is always a smiling, happy face in the hallways at the elementary school. Nicole brings with her a wealth of experience and perspective from the urban school district. Mrs. Smith is always thinking of ways to create application opportunities for her students in all content areas. She rotates tables with names with sight words, adds in color, shapes into groupings and activities to ensure that students are always learning, even while they are transitioning from activity to activity. Recently, while teaching money, Mrs. Smith's students earned coins throughout the week to make purchases at Mrs. Smith's pet store at the end of the week. Students not only needed to know the value of coins, they needed to count the total value of the coins earned, determine if they had enough money to make purchases, subtract coins to make a purchase, and learn about financial transactions, all while in kindergarten. Students were highly engaged in the entire process, and it made learning about money fun and exciting while teaching essential skills with money.
So that was a lot of what I wanted to say. But I do have we are really lucky to have Nicole on our staff. She's an excellent team player. She brings new and creative ideas into her teaching and shares them with the team. During one of our recent Tech Tuesdays, we had our technology teacher visit her classroom to get the ideas from her Bitmoji board, is that what you call it? Bitmoji virtual classroom, where she has it set up very easily for her students to see visually parts of their daily routine in a fun, creative way, and then it was essentially copied with other teachers in the staff. She's positive, friendly, easygoing, super hardworking. Her classroom is very caring and loving. Every time I go in there, the students are coming up to me and hugging me and sharing what they've earned from her, so showing that she also recognizes their hard work and efforts in the class. So thank you, Nicole, for everything. You're awesome.
The final recognition this evening is to recognize two of our students that have come a long way and created a massive milestone in their athletic career. So I'm going to invite Sarah to do an official recognition.
Can I stand over there?
Absolutely. I was going to say, how do we want to do this?
Jake will make me stand. Tonight we are recognizing Jacob Deisher and Ash Turner for their accomplishments in wrestling. Both students reached 100 wins this season, which is a huge accomplishment in itself. Additionally, they had a COVID year in there, which they lost a bunch of matches compared to most students. So it has been a huge accomplishment for them. Additionally, they're phenomenal student athletes. They work hard in the community. They work hard for the youth wrestling organization. They are referees for their Friday night matches. Have helped build the program and show tremendous work ethic. And it's something that the athletic department is proud of. I've only been fortunate enough to work with them the last 2 years, so I also invited Coach Justin Morley to speak on their behalf to give you a better picture of all their athletes.
So I first ran into Josh and Jake when we were in the elementary program. Went to a lot of tournaments and saw them doing a lot of matches. At the time I was a middle school coach, and we got to work with the sport of state. So I got to see a lot of these guys as they were growing up. And I've been fortunate enough over the last 2 years to get to coach them. A few years back, I had the opportunity to coach with a guy, Tom Hutchinson, who, when he brought up love and wrestling, and he made a speech about love, I was like, we're not supposed to talk about that. Wrestling, we're tough, we don't care. But the more you think about it, it's very true. You have to love this sport. No two kids love this sport more than these two right here. Whether they always know it all the time is another question. It's easy to love it when it's going well, everything's going your way. It's always really fun and exciting when the team's having success and you're having individual success. But the times mid to late February, early March, when you're getting up in the morning after practice every day and wrestling every Saturday, stuck in a gym for 9 hours getting home when it's dark, waking up when it's dark. That gets tough, especially in the winter. You know, your body aches. You've been getting tossed around and bent in different directions all season long. It gets tough to go and do that, and you might be miserable going to that practice. So the only thing that's pushing you to do that is your love for the sport. These guys showed that all year, every day, for the last 2 seasons. I know they both have an incredible family support system. Both mom and dad, both of them incredibly supportive, above and beyond, not only the program, but their kids as well. Not only do these guys have those tournaments, parents too, so that definitely helps them being able to go home with a great support system for their fan. Josh, I'll start with you. Your style of wrestling has aged me significantly these last 2 seasons, in a good way, because you are one of the most entertaining kids to watch wrestle. I said before, when you could be down 14 points and in a horrible position, and you end up hitting that kid, and the kid gets up with a touchdown. Yeah, again, you're exciting style, drove me nuts sometimes, but it was what you did. It was you. You wrestled and you had fun doing it. In order for you to have fun doing it, you actually taught me something about maybe I need to back off on being so rigid on technique and stuff like that I want to push, because not everybody's the same. Everybody has their own show. Jake, your leadership in the room and in the program is second. It was like, I can only equate it to like a player coach. When we're meeting, we didn't always have it live, like Coach Whalen, the head coach, had some personal issues this year where maybe we couldn't get to practices on time and things like that. And Coach Holly would be in there, and we would have Jake actually run the warm-ups, run the drills, and really take a leadership role. And it was never a problem because every single kid on that team looked up and respected Jake Dexter for his work ethic and his accomplishments. So it was like having a third coach in the room at all times. Something that these guys are going to take with them, especially with this year, they each got the 100 wins between the two of them. They have, I believe, 217 wins, and that's huge. That's awesome for me to be able to coach athletes like that and make my job easy when those two moments. They literally had to pin almost every single opponent we wrestled in a team duel meet for our team to have a chance to win, and I would say probably like 95% of the time that. That was the only reason that Brandywine Wrestling was able to win their first division title. Because of this. But with that being said, they didn't achieve their goals this year. Obviously, Josh, with the torn meniscus, he tore his meniscus in his 100th win at the start of the third period. He had to wrestle a full period with a torn meniscus where he could barely stand to achieve that 100. So I can't imagine the pain he was in, but he gutted it out and showed the mental toughness to get through it. Jake, a couple moments in matches didn't go our way, being placed one spot short of making state tournament this year. So what will they take away from those experiences? I think, and from personal experience within this sport, when you don't achieve your goals, it pushes you and motivates you to achieve every goal you set out to achieve from that point on, because you don't want to feel like you failed when you achieve this goal. So I have no doubt in my mind that both of these young men will be successful at whatever they choose to do in life, and it's just the personality they have. They will constantly keep pushing forward, grinding out whatever they need to be successful at their next endeavor. That being said, I'm honored to coach them. It's a privilege to be able to talk about them, and Thank you guys both for allowing me.
All right, student board representatives. Do you want to mention the?
So thank you to everyone in the audience for celebrating those accomplishments with us. To our New Heights Awards winners, congratulations. To our 2 athletes, congratulations. Huge win. And Mr. Worley, thank you so much for your comments this evening. One final recognition, we have the Frontline Impact Project. Miss Kelly, our elementary principal, wrote a grant. We honestly didn't think we were going to get it, but we received 40 pallets of Lysol wipes. So a pretty awesome opportunity for us. We have been trying to get, we have distributed those out to all the classrooms. We also have them in strategic locations in each office areas for any community members to come in to receive those donations of the wipes. And we're also going to put them out at events, community events throughout the rest of the spring, concerts, open houses, those sort of things for the community to be able to take those and use those. We also had a chance to partner with our library as well as our the Topton Food Pantry, and have been able to support those 2 agencies with some of the white donations as well to get those out into a different sect of the community. So huge thank you to the Frontline Impact Project. Great opportunity for our community. So I just wanted to publicly recognize that.
All right, student board representatives. Tatiana.
For Kindness Day last month, high school students worked with elementary school students on a crafts and activity. 2 paper tree murals outlining kindness are now on display in both the elementary and high school. Evening of the Arts was last month. I saw many of you there as drama club, jazz band, chamber singers, juggling club, and individual students performed while student art was on display. There was a great turnout. Last Friday was the snow coming dance. High school students got all dressed up for a fun evening in the high school cafeteria. Fashion Club even ran a photo booth. Auditions for the drama club's spring production of An Evening of Comedy, a series of hilarious one-act plays and improvisation, are currently underway. The National Honor Society induction of the current junior class will be this Thursday, March 9th at 6 p.m. This Saturday, March 11th, is the Music in Our Schools concert. High school concert band, jazz band, chamber singers, treble choir, and concert choir have been preparing the last 2 months for the event. Many high school music students are also volunteering during intermediate and middle school performances to facilitate the concert. The high school is hosting SAT testing on March 22nd. And lastly, the BH Clothing Circle collected 111 bags at our most recent collection, and we're vigorously sorting through all of the clothing before Saturday, March 25th, our next distribution date. We hope to have a huge turnout as we have a lot of clothing.
Thank you. Megan?
In high school athletics, winter sports have officially concluded, with each team reaching some extent of playoffs. Girls basketball made both county and district playoff tournaments, but lost the first rounds of both. Boys basketball also made the district playoff tournament, but they also lost in the first round. Boys wrestling, which we just talked about, Josh Sterner claimed his 100th win during the sectional tournament a few weeks ago, and Jacob Deisher placed 7th in the regional tournament this past weekend and ended his high school career with 117 wins. In girls wrestling, they competed at the regional championships yesterday with 3 podium winners, Ashley Nates taking 8th place, Jaden Roush taking 5th place, and Emma Lukanich taking 4th place. Both Jaden and Emma have qualified for the statewide tournament this coming weekend, and as of today, officially, spring sports are now underway.
Lauren?
The elementary school students celebrated Read Across America Week and Dr. Seuss's birthday last week. On Friday, March 3rd, the intervention teachers planned fun activities for all students by grade level. The pre-K students listened to Green Eggs and Ham and made fizzing green eggs. Kindergarten listened to The Cat in the Hat and made the Cat in the Hat slime. First grade listened to the Lorax and worked together to build the tallest tree using straws, cotton balls, pom-poms, tape, and feathers. Second grade listened to Bartholomew and the Oobleck and made Oobleck. And third grade listened to Oh Say Can You Say What's the Weather Today and made tornadoes in a bottle. The elementary school has also partnered with our PTC to host a fun night of bingo last Thursday. There was a great turnout with about 300 people joining. They raffled off TV gift baskets and gave free books to all students who attended. It was a fun night and a wonderful fundraiser for our PTC. Finally, there are currently 46 students registered for kindergarten next school year. Screening sessions are being scheduled for June. So if you know anyone that has a child that will be 5 years old on or before September 1st, please have them check out our website or call the elementary school office.
Thank you. Jenna?
In the intermediate school, March is going to be an egg sighting month. Fourth grade classes received their fertilized eggs today. For the next 21 days, the students will be learning about embryology taught by 4-H on a weekly basis. The chicks will then be sent to a farm on the 31st. Dr. Fabian will be coming to fourth grade classrooms to teach about the dangers of tobacco products in her Tar Wars presentation. March 10th through the 17th is the book fair. March 24th is the Music in the Schools Assembly for grades 3 through 5. March 28th is the Laser Show Assembly. In the middle school, March 6th through the 30th, there is a Pulse Service project going on that involves donating loose change to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. From March 9th through the 23rd, there will be a Joe Corby pizza fundraiser. On March 24th, there is a spring dance. In both schools, there will be a Pi Day assembly on March 14th. The IS and MS students will participate in an assembly celebrating mathematics. The students will participate in games and contests centered around the mathematical constant pi. Marking period 3 ends on March 20th. Parents will be able to view the child's report card on March 30th. Music in our schools is this Saturday on March 11th. Students from grades 3 through 12 will participate at the high school from 3 to 7 o'clock. And finally, the Spirit Week from Monday, March 13th to Friday, March 17th. On Monday, wear colors for cause. Tuesday, Pi Day. Wednesday, dress as your favorite holiday. Thursday, Rainbow Day. And Friday, Green Day.
Thank you very much, guys. Moving on. Any public comment in regards to the agenda? Hearing none. We'll move on to Board of Directors report. Can I get a motion in a second?
So move Sheets. Second. Right.
Thank you. Floor is yours, Mr. Pottinger.
So just a couple items under Board of Directors report this evening. The first one is the meeting minutes from last school board meeting of February 6th. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made to those minutes before they're approved? Okay. We have a few first reading policies. There's 4 of them I'd like to go over with the board this evening, just so you have a high level overview of what's included. The first one is student debt. That actually is a brand new policy. We did not have a policy of how to handle student debt before. So I just want to go through essentially the process that's in the policy. The first level or the threshold is $10. Once that student debt reaches that $10 threshold, the first step would be a written notice would be sent home to families. The second step would be that there would be, after those 2 weeks, the building principal would then meet with the parents or reach out to the parents to engage in some conversations about how to support that family in making up that student debt. The third step then, if that is not successful after an additional 2 weeks, then we would start to look at some more restrictive measures of pulling back student access to extracurricular events, field trips, and those sort of things. But again, that is kind of a last step resort in terms of trying to work with the family, sending the letters of notification, conferences with the principal, phone calls, those sort of things. But we wanted to make sure that this was brought to the board's attention as a new policy. We are experiencing some growing student debt, particularly as it pertains to our lunch accounts. And so we wanted to make sure we had a policy and a process in place to recognize that. The other policies in front of you, 901 public relation objectives. just a minor language adjustment for email usage. 902 publications and programs, there's no updates there. That's just a refresh of a policy. And 904 public attendance at school, there's some minor language there to include vaping with tobacco products, and also to add a health and safety statement, which was recommended by PSBA. Any questions on those policies before I move on? Okay. Second reading policies. Oh, I'm sorry.
Inflation is really bad, and I know a lot of people are hurting. I know no one chooses to be in debt, and maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but if the family's in debt, and I know they're embarrassed to admit it, is it right for us to start punishing them, like cutting them off from school events?
So part of this process is if the family is in debt, again, written notification and then conferences with the principal, which is that personal connection. And that's where we can start to work with them, free and reduced lunch application, those sort of things. So that way, if they're not already qualified, we can help get them qualified in order to make that process better. If we don't do something and we don't put something in place, unfortunately, that debt grows to a point where it becomes almost unmanageable for them to be able to recover from it. And so we have to put some kind of process in place in order to be able to handle that debt, particularly with the food service account, because that's its own separate account. Everything else that the district covers all falls under the general budget. Food service is its own separate budget, and there cannot be any debt associated with that. It has to be clean. And so that's why particularly this policy and student debt usually comes from food service. It's super important to be able to work with families to be able to clean that debt up. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay. Second reading policies. Those were presented last board meeting. We didn't receive any additional feedback, so those will be approved and become official board policies after this evening. And then there's two other items. This seems to be kind of an antiquated item, but still is required. We have the health and safety plan. This is required because under the ARP ESSER grant, every 6 months we have to update and have a health and safety plan on file for the school district. That grant expires September 24. So you'll see this one more time next September, and then one more time next January, winter time. And then that'll be the end of this. But that health and safety plan really has been focused more on just regular illnesses and some of those preventative measures. Particularly right now, we're seeing a lot of illnesses, colds, head colds, and the stomach bug was going around for a while. So the plan has been more curtailed to just illnesses that we see now more on a routine basis. And then finally, we have the acknowledgement of an agreement with the Lutheran Home. This has been a long-standing agreement, so if there would ever be an emergency at the Lutheran Home, they can bring their residents down to the school district, and vice versa. If there was ever an emergency here within the school district, whatever building, we can go and utilize the space at the Lutheran Home, whether as a temporary housing until we can get families reunified, or that reunification process right away. So that's essentially what that agreement's talking about. Any questions on those 5 items? Mr. Wagner, we'll turn it back over to you for committee reports.
All right, committee reports. Mrs. Hume, BCIU.
Good evening, everybody. The only thing I really wanted to draw folks' attention, and it doesn't begin to compare to tornadoes in a bottle. I really want to know how to make tornadoes in a bottle, like they said, or Spirit Day or whatever. But this has to do with mandates. So we spent some time at the BCIU board meeting on February 16th reviewing a document, and I'll pass this around because it's impressive in like almost an unfortunate way. It's unfortunate that we as public schools have to deal with this amount of mandates. So what the BCIU did a couple of years ago at the request or direction of the superintendents around the county was go through all of that legal stuff and try and document it and organize it in a way that helps school districts ensure that they're in compliance and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. And in addition to that, this will be used and has been used, will continue to be used as a way to help our legislators understand just how much mandates impact us as school districts. So this is this year's version. These are the changes that have been made. So this is like another 10 pages worth of mandate updates just in the past year. So it obviously is a dynamic document. It's constantly being updated, but I'll pass it around just to give you a sense. It's organized in a way, again, that helps folks really understand by category, by deadline, by scope, who's involved and who has to do what when. So pretty powerful stuff. There's also a checklist document, which basically takes that 82 pages worth of stuff and whittles it down into like much more succinct checklist driven type document that makes it easier from an action perspective. So again, I'll pass these around, and just if at the end of the night, if they make their way back, that would be great. Other than that, there was kind of standard business. There's a couple important dates that I reflected in the written report that I submitted. The advocacy days are coming up in April 17. There's a basically a 45-minute issues briefing that anybody can dial into through Zoom if you're interested in understanding what the next day on the 18th, folks involved in this advocacy day are going to be prioritizing in their conversations with pre-scheduled meetings with legislators in the Capitol in Harrisburg. And then just a plug for the Annie Sullivan Award. Every year, the BCIU sponsors an award to recognize an outstanding special ed teacher or staff member involved in the world of special education. And it's a powerful ceremony. Typically 10 or 12 people are nominated, and stories are told about them. Their nominations are reviewed, similar to our New Heights Award. Folks stand up and talk about why they chose to nominate these individuals, and then the winner is announced. So it's a pretty powerful evening. Again, only 1 hour, so if anybody's interested in attending, I can get you that information.
And we did nominate a staff member.
Oh,
this year.
fabulous.
So we'll see if they win, but we did nominate a staff member, which is pretty exciting.
Excellent. All the more reason for Brandywine to come out and support our school and that individual. So, yeah.
And just a quick tag on to appreciate the recognizing the state mandates. This has been a priority for me personally. I've really kind of led the charge in state mandates. We also, as a COLA committee, the Council Committee on Legislative Action at the BCIU level, have this as one of our priority areas. I was asked to be on a state committee. It's a joint state government commission, and it focuses particularly on the training mandates that are engaged in that. And so we've been involved in that. I created some recommendations back to the committee, and those recommendations were agreed upon, and we'll move forward now to a final draft, which will then go over to the legislators. And so some positive work there. I don't know if it'll ever get any traction, but at least it is a common sense actionable item recommendation instead of just some theoretical language that's in there. This is actual action that the state could make if they wanted to help refine and make mandates a little bit more manageable. Just as a quick talking point for mandates, so there was one that was just put in place last July. It's called Act 55. It's on safety and security. And that's part of the problem. So all these mandates are good ideas. And unfortunately, it's one good idea, something happens, and now they add another good idea. And so it develops this layering effect. But the last one, Act 55, is all about safety and security. And so this one focuses on 3 hours of training every year that are now mandated. So if you start picking that apart, doesn't sound like it's a lot, but when you add it to all the other training, you have to find the time for that. And so I did the calculations on that based off of the number of students in Pennsylvania. If you would carve out a half day in service to do that 3 hours of training, there'd be 5.2 million hours of instructional time lost just to accomplish that one mandate. And so it just starts to put some numbers to the impact of, I don't think the legislators quite realize the impact to what a mandate really involves when they put these into place. And again, it's not just this one, it's the 82 pages worth of mandates that are out there that we have to continually grow upon. So I'm hopeful that the recommendations that we're working on here, which is more tying it to a 5-year cyclic plan, teachers need to do something called Act 48, and that they have to get a certain number of continual education hours to be able to maintain their certification. And so the proposal really wraps around, instead of having these annual requirements or every 3 years or every 5 years, having them all be part of the cyclic process, so that every 5 years they have to check all these boxes as part of their renewal of certification. So we'll see what happens, but again, it's an actionable item that maybe we'll get some feet and move forward. So, thanks for letting me jump on my soapbox.
Sure.
That's great. Yeah, and that's all I have for
All
this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Yoon. Mr. Sheets, BCTC.
BCTC met on the 22nd of February at the West Campus. If I can point my colleagues' attentions to the Business and Operation Report, item L. It is the 2023-24 Berks Career and Technology Center operating budget. Realistically, like the first two, pages like 3 and 4 are really where you guys are going to look. What that breaks down, it breaks down what our proportional share is at BCTC. Basically, they figure out 3-year rolling average of our students. They use that to decide how much money we have to pay, what our share is to BCTC. This year, our share is 4.215. Our budget is $561,382. That is down about 5.6% from $594,500. Sounds fantastic until you realize that we have to shift the transportation burden over to our operating budget. Don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but realistically, that's what it is, right? That's why we're showing a lower cost. Now, with all that being said, it is a great program at BCTC, right? So you definitely get what you pay for. BCTC is a world-class, training institute. They make sure that our kids get basically the most cutting-edge training you can get for all of the different, programs that they have over there. I would hope that everyone sees the value in this. Also appreciates the or the decrease that we're getting this year. And I can count on all of your support for supporting this budget. Our next meeting will be held on 3/22 at the East Campus. I think I might have messed that up. The 3/22, last one was 2/22 at the West Campus. The next one's 3/22 at the East Campus. This concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Delgerco, BEITC.
So I have nothing to report. The next meeting is March 30th.
Thank you. COLA, Mrs. Walliser is not here.
I can just share a few words on COLA, sitting as the co-chair for that organization. So last meeting we had Noelle Ellerson, who is from Washington, D.C., representing AASA, and she spoke on the federal mandates or the federal updates as it pertains to education. So talked about some of the education bills, talked about some of the education funding, but then really focused a lot of our conversation on understanding the impact of omnibus bills and how all different bills have to be considered and taken into consideration and as a package of things that might end up impacting education and their close thumb on all those different facets of the legislative world down in Washington, D.C. So very informative, very interesting. I did share with the board that PowerPoint that was done at that presentation. If you have any other questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Policy Committee.
I think we went over the policies already.
Strategic Planning and Goals, Mrs. Eisenhart. Thank you. Negotiations Compensation Committee, Mr. Sheets. I'm sorry, I apologize.
I just took it right. I have nothing to report this time.
Thank you. Building Committee.
There's a building construction committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow to continue further refining the scope of the stadium project. We're hopeful to be able to receive some preliminary budget numbers back from Keystone Sports tomorrow, which will help define a pathway and some recommendations out to the board, hopefully in the near future here.
Thank you. Any additional board discussions, questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just wondering, Mr. Potiger, if it would be possible at all to get Mrs. Hume's report on all those things on our web so that the people can actually see all the mandates that we're faced with and what it means to the budget and the taxes in this community?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things I wanted to mention was I also wrote an article for the Reading Eagle, which will be published in the next 2 or 3 weeks, focused all on state mandates. So we'll tie that all together and put that on our website. Absolutely.
Good. Thank
Great
you.
suggestion.
Any other concerns, questions? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffner?
Yes.
Mr. Hohenschel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Reitner?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
Thank you. Business and operations, a motion and a second.
So move Sheets. Second right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagaman, before you pass it over to Mr. Guercio, Mr. Hefner, if you're interested in a hard copy just to have in your possession, those are also available from the BCIU. So just give me a heads up and I can give anybody who's interested in having either the checklist or that whole 82 pages. I mean, Alexis is just going through and you realize 82 pages with probably 5 or 6 mandates per page. I mean, it is just overwhelming, but it's a great tool. Sure. Okay. While we're doing that, anybody else interested in hard copy? All right, 2.
I'll take one of those.
Okay, 3. And Andrew, you and your team already have them or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. All right, great.
We did.
If you can, yeah, 3.
And everybody should carry that with them.
That's right. Every time you go to the grocery store and somebody taps you on the shoulder, you go, look at this.
When you get to the hand hop section, you can pull it out. This is why it costs.
This is pork belly, right?
Your textile is harder.
Bring it up and they're like, well, what are they? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I know a few.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mrs. Hume.
All right,
Dr.
thank
Arco.
you. So moving over to the business and operations report. To begin, we have the bills list, items A through D. General fund bills total $915,295.33. Item B, food service fund bills total $32,490.91. Construction fund bills total $135,328.34. During this time period, we had no checks from Capital Reserve Fund. And then moving on to item E, we have financial statements through December and January. As previously mentioned, what happened at the last board meeting. And then there is no budget transfers. So if anybody has any questions with those before we move on. All right, and moving over to special education and pupil services. So item 1, we are asking you to ratify an agreement with Dr. Shillabeer for a special education student at a one-time cost of $4,500. And item 2 is to approve an addendum with an existing waiver agreement for student 41106 for the remainder of this school year and next school year as attached. And we have nothing for curriculum and technology. Moving over to facilities and maintenance, we're asking you to approve the agreements with AJ Morrow Company for the following security card access upgrades. Now, these are currently budgeted in the Capital Reserve long-term planning for 22-23. And also, just as a side note, these are items that have to take place before we can do the Act 55 grant security upgrades. So just a piece of information. So item I, this is to approve an electricity purchasing agreement as a participant in the Berks County Electricity Purchasing Group with Provident Energy for the next 2 years, beginning July 12th and moving through July 13th of 2025. Now, this will be with Constellation New Energy of Houston, Texas. We currently have an agreement with them at about .03224. While this is a significant increase to our electric budget of about $179,000, I would say we could, given the current market conditions and initial projections, this is actually not all that bad. And item J is to approve the updated roster for Brandywine Transportation as attached. And then item K, this is something we've done the last couple of years, but it's to approve the facilities use and hold harmless agreement with Kutztown University so that they can host our graduation on May 31st. And then item L, Mr. Sheets previously noted this, we're asking you to approve the 23-24 BCTC operating budget of a total of $18,779,056. And our total decrease is, or the total member decrease is 7.6%. As Mr. Sheets previously mentioned, our decrease is 5.6% for a total of $33,118. So moving on to item M, this is to approve All-American Athletics to provide a complete resurfacing of the high school gym floor and application of 2 coats of the NSB sealer, game lines, logos, etc. At a cost of approximately $27,750. You can see the mock-up that is attached in the agreement as well. So initially we had budgeted to have the floor sanded. So this is going to essentially do a little bit more that we would have had to do, but we had a great price. So we're going to try to do it this year. And then item N is to approve an agreement with House Wash out of Glenmore, Pennsylvania to conduct a surface cleaning of the high school tennis courts at a cost of $6,000. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Question about the BCTC transportation. So do I understand that it's about a $33,000 discount or cost savings of what we have to pay BCTC? How does that compare with what we're estimating or forecasting the incremental expense to absorb that transportation and do it ourselves is?
Correct. So we're actually working on kind of sharing the transportation with Kutztown. So at this point, it's probably going to be about double the decrease of 33,000. It's going to be more like 70,000. So that's the current cost of what we're projecting. So it's going to cost us more to bring it back.
Okay, so we're gonna save 33,000 on what we pay to BCTC, but it's going to cost us closer to 70. So the net gap that we have to make up is 40 some odd $1,000.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. And that'll be built into this forthcoming year's budget.
Yep.
Maybe there's a budget workshop question. So when we talk about that, I guess it's later this evening, perhaps. Will that be pulled out on your summary sheet as this is an incremental expense this year that we've never had to deal with before?
Yeah, it does note transportation. I just had a lump sum, but I can break it out for future.
I think it might be helpful as we go through the process to be able to identify that's like 40 grand incremental and here's what it's attributed to.
Yeah, so I haven't made the actual, I guess, switch over until I had the final cost from Kutztown.
Okay.
But it's kind of like earmarked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know it's coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
Mr. Hornschel,
Yes.
Mrs. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Reitner,
Yes.
Mr. Sheets,
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
Thank you. Superintendent's report. Can I get a motion in a second? Whoa. There you go. Thank you.
Under superintendent report this evening, we have a dual enrollment agreement with Albright College. This has been a partnership we formed about Mr. Volker about 2-3 years ago. Been a good opportunity, a lot of STEM initiatives that are connected to this dual enrollment agreement. This one took a little bit of of time to get this one officially pulled together for 2022-2023 for this school year. At the same time, we thought let's just get 23 and 24 done because it took us so long to get 22 and 23. So we're asking for approval for item A and B, exact same agreement, just one for this year, one for next year. And then we have items C, D, and E are second readings of curriculum that Mr. Farina had presented last meeting. Item F is a high school field trip request for 9 business students and 3 teacher chaperones to go to the annual FBLA State Leadership Conference. And that is April 16th to April 19th. Since this is an overnight field trip, the board is asked to approve those overnight field trips. And then there is another overnight field trip. This one just came to us. It is for our high school treble choir. They've been invited to go to Pittsburgh and to participate in the Pittsburgh treble choir ensemble. They have a concert on Sunday, and then the choir has invited them to participate in one of their rehearsals the following day on Monday. So great opportunity for our students. Approximately 18 students are going to be going on this, and that would be April 1st to 3rd. That actually is during our spring break, so there'll be no intersect with school during that time. Any questions on those activities, on those events? I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Honcho?
Yes.
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Rightower?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
All right. We need to take a brief break for exec session. Can I get a motion to enter into this? What's that? For personnel reasons. No, sorry. We have a motion in a second. That's fine. It's official now.
We're just gonna go right in there. For audience, sorry, bear with us 1 second. Here, we'll be right back. Thank you. Learning support teacher, that you will see reflected in C3A, which I'll talk about in a second. But that is the hiring of Miss Angela Kemp, who will be the replacement for Mr. Truliner. We also are excited, I think, to celebrate. I'm not sure this is a celebration for the district, but a wonderful celebration for Mrs. Levingood that she has officially submitted her retirement letter. And so after I think it's 35 years of commitment to the school district, she's going to be retiring as the elementary secretary. So we are advertising for that one currently, and we'll be looking for a replacement for that. So there's some transition time in all her knowledge that she's had over those years. We also have the resignation of Mrs. Solenberger, who's our middle school and high school Spanish teacher. We currently have that advertised. We're looking for a replacement for that. The reason why it's a TBA is because that's really dependent on finding a replacement for that position. We have some backup contingency plans in place if we can find a certified Spanish teacher towards the end of the school year, but we are hopeful to be able to find someone there. And then finally, we had the resignations of the spring season co-curricular athletic coaches, individuals that coaches before previously that will not be moving forward this year. Change of status. We don't have any of this for this meeting. We do have a few appointments. Again, I mentioned Miss Angela Kemp. Mrs. Kemp is going to be joining us from the Allentown School District with, I believe it's 15 or 16 years of special education experience in that school district. And so we're really excited to have her join our staff and in that specifically that K-3 autistic support position. We have co-curricular appointments for the 22-23 athletic coaches, as well as athletic event staff. Just a plug to the community, anyone that might be watching, we are still looking for a head track coach. So if someone is interested, we would love for you to be able to connect with our athletic director, Mrs. Sarah Conrad. We also finally have 2 appointments, and we're excited to have these folks join our staff. This is Mrs. Heidi Hofstetter, who's going to be joining as the clerical substitute. And we also have Miss Jessica Swenger, who is going to be joining us as the cafeteria recess aide substitute, as well as a food service substitute. So again, excited to have those individuals join us and be able to support our team and our students. That is the end of the personnel report, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any public comment? Any additional comments from the board? Yes, sir.
A couple questions. That email that was sent out for public comment about getting rid of homework. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, so that is part of our strategic plan for the school district this year. As you probably recall, we looked at our entire process of how we do retesting, how we do a bunch of different things to support our students and make sure that learning is a priority. This is the final phase for that. We've actually have been targeting homework expectations for some years now, but we haven't had a chance to really put that together in a committee work. So Mr. Volker is leading that charge. He met with some of our teacher representatives, a group of about 20-30 staff members that started looking at the pros and cons of homework and trying to find that balance. So we have some really good feedback there. We also send a survey out to our teachers to get their feedback and input. And then likewise, to complement that, we wanted to get input from parents, all with the idea of we're going to put that together so that we have some good commonality and consistency within buildings, within grade levels, really within buildings, and then across the district, K-12, so that we have more of a purposeful process and understanding of what is homework, what's the appropriate amount of homework, and how do we use that homework.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. What do we consider homework? Are we talking about just handing in papers? Because like I know my daughters, I consider homework also studying at home because you're doing it at home on your own time.
Mhm.
So is there a guideline there?
Yeah.
So when we started our committee work, we actually started off by defining what homework is. And we basically said homework is anything that is assigned that is occurring outside of that classroom. So whether it's reading a book for 10 minutes, whether it's a project that you're working on during class that you didn't finish, that now is due the next day or weeks later. So again, it's anything that would fall into that category. For parents, we wanted to make sure that, the survey was palatable. We didn't want to provide too much information that deterred people from reading it and going into definitions. Whatever your definition is of homework, that will be fine. Complete the survey as if, you're thinking about homework through your lens.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, like, what happens if you have like the stomach bug for 3 days and you missed a bunch of work? Are teachers going to be recommended to give you the appropriate time in class to do that work then? Or are we not going to go into details yet?
We're starting to blur lines between homework assignments and projects, and then also what happens when you're sick or absent from class. So really the whole purpose of the work that we're doing right now is to ensure we have that consistency across the school district, across grade levels and departments, as Mr. Potico was articulating, really from an instructional point of view. So do we believe that every kindergartner should be doing 30 minutes of reading by themselves every single day? No, or yes. So trying to just establish what is that expectation for a kindergartner, for a 5th grader, for a 12th grader. Is that all the same, or is it different? And then within each grade level, do we have the exact same expectations for every single student, or does that get differentiated based on the student's needs? So there's a lot that we're working through, and we're just trying to establish some general guidelines so there's a level of consistency across the district. And also internally, we're establishing really what some of those best practices are regarding homework.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Volker.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Volker, just before you change topics,
Sure.
if you don't mind, can I ask a quick follow-up question? So remind us, if you would kindly, the nature of the committee. So it's faculty members, administrators, keep going.
Sure, absolutely. So I would say it's our instructional team. So yes, everybody that's an administrator that intersects with instruction, which is most of our admin team. Obviously, that's building principals, assistant principals, director of pupil services, instructional supervisor, curriculum supervisor, myself, Mr. Potiger. I'm forgetting it, Mrs. Honich. And so everybody that intersects there on the administrative side, as well as it's primarily department heads with representatives of every grade level and every department, if you will. So we also have elective teachers that are in there as specialists. So on the art side of the house, what do we view as, homework through that encore lens versus your elementary grades, middle through, oh goodness gracious, I don't want to call individuals out. But yes, there is a great cross section across the entire district.
Thank you.
Other question. I know we have a policy already to retake test. We're already working on the homework situation. Could we expand that policy to retake quizzes?
Take that as well. Absolutely. So what we established this year was a way to take a look at our grade. I feel like I should stand up. A way to take a look at our grade books. So we have our grade books, and we wanted to establish some level of consistency with how we are entering grades. What do grades mean? All of that. And we ended up establishing a weighted grade book system. And we said formative assessments are really used to guide your instruction along the way. So that's your homework assignments. That's your smaller quizzes, smaller point assignments that the teacher can use. Okay, they're getting it or they're not. The bigger summative assessment pieces that go in the grade book, usually think about your chapter tests, those end of unit or end of selection assessments, which sometimes can be quizzes, depending upon how that individual class is structured. So for guidance in year one, we said smaller quizzes, they're more of your formative pieces. Our big summative chapter unit tests, that's what we want to focus on this year, as we want to make sure that students have an opportunity to retake those big tests and those big assessments. Because when you take a look at a grade book, That's really what those big things are that dictate your grade. And if there's a student that just had a really bad day, well, we want that student to be able to show that they have mastered that content at a higher level than they've performed. Okay? That was the crux behind year one. Our goal is, as this year progresses, as we're getting closer to, we want to reflect on how did that work? Did it work very well? Did we have consistency of implementation across the district, across the grades, across the departments? Or were there areas that we needed to tweak and improve? So those are conversations we'll be primarily having during the fourth quarter. But as it stands right now in year one, smaller quizzes, we've said they're formative assessments, so those are not retakeable. Also, we have to consider manageable workloads for our teachers, because that's part of the equation as well. We can't overburden our teachers with the philosophical approach that we have of the content mastery. So it's really about walking that line, finding the balance, and doing what's best for kids. So as it stands in year one, that's where we are, but that is a practice that we are reflecting upon.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Yeah, of course.
Would you have a number? I'm changing subjects totally. Back to the lunch account. Would you have a number on the top of your head? How many are in debt more than $10? Like, is it really?
I don't
that
have a
bad?
number on my top of my head of how many over $10. I do know that the total number is $3,800 in total debt right now. And those range from some accounts that are over 200, pushing 3 down to $2.
Final question. I don't even know if this is a possibility. I know 90% of our district, the taxes are on the homeowners because we really don't have much business in our school district. Is it possible to even offer businesses like free school tax for X amount of years just to entice them to come here, or is that like not even a possibility?
That is a possibility. Mr. Pratt, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Didn't expect this coming tonight.
This is like a law school all over again.
Yeah, there are ways of doing that, but that would be something that you'd have to enter into. I mean, they're more than just school district taxes you have to worry about if you're going to start forgiving. There's county taxes, township, all those that you'd have to work. There used to be called Keystone Opportunity Zones that you'd put together, but there are ways of doing that. But you'd have to work with your other local entities to address those.
Would we be even interested in that? I'm just trying to think of ideas because we do have a bad tax situation.
So
Well, I think you would have to have the availability of properties.
I was just going to say you need to have land available to be able to develop it and entice people to come in and develop it. I don't know if you have the land available to do it, to even make it worth the while. And then you'd also have to look at in lieu of scenarios, what would you accept, what would you not accept? So it would be a big project that you'd have to work on to establish those.
Okay.
A lot of the communities that I have that work on those types of things, they have either large areas in their downtown area, and or they have just development area where they bring in developments to bring in those warehouses or the distribution centers and things of that nature to help entice them to come in this area. But then you're also looking at infrastructure. You're looking at those types of areas where you have to be prepared to address as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I would like to ask Nicole. I know at the last budget we talked about spending around $2,500 to GPS the buses. I know we were working on it. Did we ever finish that?
So the GPSs are installed.
Okay. Is there actually like an app on the phone now and everything?
So the GPSs is for the Brandywine Transportation to see where the buses are. There's currently not capability for the parents to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I do have so there is 63 students that have a balance greater than $10. And that actually makes up $3,500 of the $3,800. There's 63 students.
And we reached out to all the students.
Yes. They get an update every Monday, a notification goes out, and they also get a letter in the mail once a month.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, can I get, I do need to announce that we had an executive session, even though we do have a motion in a second for that executive session. Could I get a motion in a second, to adjourn, please? Thank you. We will now go into the budget portion of the meeting.
So we will transition. We can pretty much stay seated at this point. The official board meeting is over. We'll transition into the budget meeting, which is the makeup from last Monday. Ms. Delguerico will be presenting that.